Hello and welcome back, guys. We're now starting a part 2 of Quirk Ruler Deku, written by Yuyikazami21. You can find author's profile link in the description. Let's begin chapter 1, The Chosen One. What the hell are you doing, Deku? You don't even have a quirk. Stay out of this. I need to save everyone despite that, Kaken. And I will not back down from my words. How did this happen again? Our protagonist, Izuku Midoriya, born quirkless but with a heart of gold. He idolizes the pro-hero All Might and wanted to be like him, and to protect everyone else around him. But can a quirkless person be a hero? Now, Deku is trying to claw out his childhood friend Katsuki Bakugo from a sludge villain who is engulfing him in a trap. However, he failed and was thrown back to the ground. It was then when he looked up into the sky, thinking, am I really useless if I'm quirkless? I need to save Kaken, no matter what. It was then when a bright light obscures the entire area, blinding everyone else. Izuku finds himself in a white void, standing in front of a mysterious figure, wearing a green jumpsuit, but Izuku couldn't see his face as the figure is masked. Who are you? The figure didn't reply, but instead he just grabbed his own oddly shaped belt, which has a buckle that looked like a card reader, and puts it off, before handing it over to the confused youth. The figure also handed him over a book filled with cards. What are hey, don't go. But the figure disappeared afterward. Izuku looked down at the belt and book the figure gave him, and he puts on the belt. He slings the book on the hip side of the belt, as it then opens by itself and a card flew towards his hand. The card glows, and when the light dissipates, the card displayed the masked figure that Izuku just saw. Instinctively Izuku held the card, and shouted, Henshin. And Izuku inserted the card into the buckle's slot. Transform card, Deku, a robotic voice said from the belt buckle, and Deku is covered in a white light. What was that light just now? Bakugo asked loudly, as the light dissipates. And in front of him, is a masked figure clad in a green jumpsuit. Who is that? A new hero. So I just transformed into that hero I saw just earlier. And what did the card say about his name? Deku. Izuku broke out from his trance before he instinctively took another card that flew towards his hand. He inserted the card into the reader. Attack card, one for all, and with an instant, Izuku pumped up his fists, as electrical currents began to shroud around his body before he jumped into the air, and dived down with a kick. However, before that, a row of glowing, holographic cards show up and Izuku kicked right through the cards, his speed increasing after passing through each. His kick landed on the sludge villain, who then exploded into nothing. When the fires has ceased, Izuku instinctively returned into his normal self. Who is that just now? He just ended the villain's whole career with a simple kick, Bakugo asked, still surprised from the early attack. He felt weak, as he forcefully balled his fists. Meanwhile Izuku glanced at his attack card he just used, which fades away into nothingness. It lost its power. But then he remembered that Bakugo is still there. Kaken. Are you alright? Izuku tried to give him a hand, but Bakugo slapped it away. You're not the one saving me. Out of my way, he then walked off into the distance angrily. However, through the whole ordeal, only one person witnessed the whole event. An extremely muscular blonde man had seen it all, and he let out a grin and a chuckle. This young boy, Chapter 2, Ochiko Uraraka. Izuku still wondered, who is that figure he transformed into? Also, wasn't Deku his nickname given to him by Bakugo? For being quirkless, and useless. Deku means, useless person. Ah, there you are, young Midoriya. Izuku turned around, and there stood All Might, in his hero form. Izuku smiled, seeing his idol in the right shape, although he also didn't mind his real looks. All Might. How can I help you again? It seems that you have a good heart. What you did is what most pro-heroes do during their youth, helping in any way they could. Really? I'm glad. I'm proud of you, young Midoriya. Say, Do you care to explain how did you manage to use a quirk that is similar to mine? Similar to yours. Then Izuku remembered, the card reader on the belt did say, one for all. Indeed, and I'm also surprised seeing you come out of the attack, unharmed. The quirk can be self-destructive to an incapable person. Izuku gasped at the revelation. Do the cards somehow made him mstr the move that is performed? Also, he used those cards instinctively and suddenly knew how to fight despite the fact that he couldn't before. Just what is going on? Say, young Midoriya. Do you want to be my disciple? Izuku nodded quickly, and All Might chuckled. And for the next 10 months, Izuku trained with All Might. After going through intense training, All Might gave him a strand of his hair and that he had to eat it. Upon eating it, his card book opens by itself and several cards flew out to his hand. Detroit, Manchester, St. Louis, Full Cowl, and several more. After finished flipping through the cards, he was taken to you. Ahai, the prestigious Academy for Heroes. So this is you. Ahai, it's bigger than I expected. All of a sudden he heard footsteps rapidly coming into his direction, and he felt a sudden force hitting his back. Izuku nearly fell to the ground, and he looked behind to see, I'm sorry. I was in a hurry. A nervous brown-haired girl, wearing a hoodie and a blue skirt. She had fallen onto her rear after the crash. It's fine, really. I was just going to go in as well. I see. Right. Where are my manners? I am Achiko Uraraka. Nice to be of acquaintance. She stood up and bowed shyly. Izuku looked at her bowing down, and he had to admit that she looked even more cuter when she did that. They went in after Izuku introduced himself, and attended the orientation speech, before they were then spotted by a glasses-wearing fellow. Yes. You. The fellow pointed to Izuku, before telling him that he had a bad habit of muttering non-stop, and that he had to reduce it. He offered a handshake, and introduced himself as Tenya Ida, which Izuku nervously accepted. Later on the entrance exam he had troubles having to use his one for all without his costume. He is afraid that if he used it without the cards, he may break a bone. But then a blonde-haired boy stepped in, and destroyed the bot who is supposed to be Izuku's opponent in a flash. He winked at Izuku before leaving. Izuku then realized that time is running out, and that he had to collect points as soon as possible, but then, help. He heard the voice coming from his right, to see Uraraka, the girl from before having to fight several robots all by her own. However, the bots were floating on the air, as if there is no gravity. She shouted, "Release." And the bots fell down, but they still moved. One got up early and tries to attack Uraraka, who then covered her face with her arms, fearing the impact. But it never came. Are you alright? Izuku stood in front of her, stopping the bot's entire weight only using his index finger. Midoriya. But why? Because, Izuku is struggling to find an answer. I couldn't let something like this to permanently wipe out your appealing smile. Uraraka shook, before her face reddens, and so does Izuku as. He said that out of nervousness. And then several cards came out. They lightened up, and when the light disappeared, Uraraka's portrait is displayed in each of them. Uraraka, allow me to help you on this one. Izuku took out the card reader-shaped buckle, and put it on the center of his waist. He took his card and inserted it into the reader. Henshin. Transform card, Deku, and Izuku transformed into the hero known as Deku, according to the card reader. After transforming he kicked off the bot, and looked at one of the cards that he just got. Quirk Conquer card, Uravity, Achiko, this might tickle a bit. Izuku then tapped on Uraraka's back and she glowed in a bright light. She morphed into a small ball of light that went into Izuku, and after doing so, the other cards lightened up, their powers being unlocked. What is this? This is our strength. Izuku didn't know what else should he be answering. Izuku took one card, and put it in the reader. Final attack card, Unyielding, and the surrounding bots in the distance begins to float 5 feet in top air as if there is no gravity. Izuku then jumped up, and inserted another card. Final attack card, Deku, and several rows of holographic cards appear, in a trail that connects to all of the bots. Izuku then went to kick them, and a huge explosion rocks the entire practice grounds. Izuku landed back on his feet, as the ball of light came out of his body, and morphed back into Uraraka, who then fell down to the ground, unbalanced. Izuku then undid his transformation, turning back into his normal self, in the training uniform. Midoriya-kun, why did you help me, again? Ah, that's well, as a hero isn't it their duty to protect everyone, including other heroes? Also, I would like to protect the smiles of the people we protect. This caused Uraraka to blush again, and look away from Izuku. Several other students then went towards the blast zone to see debris of the destroyed bots scattered around. And to Izuku's surprise, Bakugo is there. He just huffed in anger before leaving. Everyone else praised Izuku for saving Uraraka despite the time limit. The next week, when the exam results were given, Izuku finds out that he didn't score any points, but he indeed gained enough rescue points to enroll. Now Izuku is formally a student of you. One step ahead towards his dreams. Chapter 3, Yaoyorozu Momo Izuku, overjoyed that he finally got accepted into you. Couldn't sleep a wink that night. As a result, in the morning he took several cups of coffee during breakfast before heading off. Along the way he encountered Uraraka, who shyly asked if she could go with him to you. Together. Izuku, being the soft-hearted fellow he is, agreed. Along the way Uraraka took glances at the dark green-haired boy, and looked down at his right hand, which is empty-handed. She tries to hold it, but when Izuku turned his gaze towards her she quickly withdrew it. Is there something wrong? And no. I mean really, no. Izuku sighed, and they both walked towards you. Safely. When they arrived at their classroom they already see the entirety of the room voting on who should be class rep until the teacher came in. A tired-looking man who looked like he hasn't slept for centuries. Izuku instantly recognized him as Eraserhead, the pro hero. In normal life he is Aizawa Shoyuta. So he is teaching here at you, Izuku felt his bag pulsating, and when he went over to his seat he opened it, and took out the card book, which is glowing inside. To avoid others looking he opened it after class, while not bringing it out. Aizawa eyed him out, a single drop of sweat falling down from his temple. That boy. Aizawa then pretended to sleep when Izuku looked up at him, and much to his luck he wasn't spotted. Izuku looked inside the card book to see that lots of quirks have been acquired, much to his surprise, except for some. There are still blurred cards, and Izuku took one before reading what card it's supposed to be. Creation. Hey, what are you looking inside? Asked a black-haired girl who tied her hair into a ponytail. It's nothing. You are Midoriya Izuku, aren't you? Yes I am, and you are? I am Yaoyorozu Momo, my quirk is creation. Nice to be of acquaintance, Midoriya. So you came here because, yes, you mentioned my quirk name despite you not knowing who I am, do you? Well, I do know that this quirk belongs to a powerful hero family. You're lucky to inherit it. Well yes indeed. Izuku noticed that Momo looked sad when replying, and before he asked what is going on, Aizawa instructed everyone to go to the training field. Izuku left his card book and buckle inside his desk, and left the classroom. But he didn't notice that Momo was still there, waiting for Izuku to leave. She took the book and buckle before inspecting them. Her eyes widened in surprise upon seeing the contents of the book. At the training field, the students would be given vigorous tests which all the students tried their best to pass using their quirks. Izuku placed 20th in the process, which is the lowest it's all because of a certain sleepy-eyed fellow erasing his 1 for all during most of the tests. Izuku feared being expelled because of failure, but it turns out that Daddy Aizawa is lying the whole time. During Izuku's trip home, Izuku realized that his bag is a little lighter, and he checked it to see that the book and buckle is gone. What? Where? Looking for these. Izuku looked at the source of the voice. It belonged to Momo. You have some great gadgets. Midoriya, care to explain what are these, and why all our quirks are written in the cards? I didn't know. Please don't tell this to anyone, Yaoyorozu-san. Izuku quickly knelt down to the ground, much to Momo's surprise. Such a gentle and honest fellow, she felt the heat rising up to her face before she shook her head. What am I thinking? Forget it, I was talking by myself. It was then when suddenly the ground below collapsed, creating a crater. Both of them fell inside. Izuku opened his eyes to see that Momo has been seriously injured from the fall. She couldn't even move her arms. Yaoyorozu-san. Then a maniacal laughter is heard. It came from a figure with a drill for his right hand. Caving down roads where people are walking is sure fun indeed. An unnamed villain appears before the both of them. He went over to the injured Momo, and tried to strike but was interrupted by Izuku, who grabbed him from behind, and did a German suplex. However, the villain recovered from it shortly after. Midoriya, why? Even though I stole you're not stealing, Yaoyorozu-san. I know you have a good heart, being a member of a great hero family after all. You are not just lucky, but you are worthy to deserve such quirk as inheritance. Momo's heart skipped a beat, as Izuku then turned around to face the recovering villain. You bstrd, who are you? Izuku took the book and buckle, before placing the latter onto his waist, and the belt fastens itself around it. Izuku took the transform card and pointed it at the villain. Just a passing through hero, remember that, villain. Henshin. Izuku inserted the card into the reader. Transform card, Deku. In an instant Izuku then transformed into his hero costume, and a card flew out from the book towards his fingers. The card turns out to be Momo's quirk, creation. Quirk conquer card, CC Creati. Izuku then walked over to Momo, and touched her shoulder. This might tickle a little. Whoa. Like. Uraraka, before she turned into a ball of light that went into Deku's body, and several more cards appear on his hand. Form card, Creati, staff. Izuku then focused on his arm, and formed a metallic staff from it. The villain went over towards Deku, who just retorted by hitting him in the jaw. I forget to mention, that in my version of creation, the weapons I made are a couple of times more stronger than Yaoyorozu-san's. See, curse you. He then used his drill hand to attack Izuku, who prepared another card. Form card, Creati, shield. The staff disappeared into thin air, before Izuku's back then protruded, producing a large kite shield. The drill hand of the villain is unable to pierce through its diamond-hard durability, and you know what? Izuku just slapped the drill away with it afterwards, like how one would usually parry in Dark Souls. Form card, Creati, blade, and Izuku conjured a short blade from his right arm, and pinned the villain down by striking the blade through his clothing, and sticks it into the ground. Izuku backflipped a couple of times before pulling out his card. Final attack card, DDD Deku. A row of glowing holographic cards then appear, and Izuku launched a flying kick through them. The villain screamed as Izuku then kicked him out of existence. He climbed out of the hole, and the ball of light, which is Momo, flew back out, and just as Izuku is about to undo his transformation, he carried the girl on a princess carry, and walked away. Izuku took her to Recovery Girl, the medic of UA, and Momo got a quick recovery. The next day, however, well, it's already decided that Ida-san would be the class rep, but I'll be sitting next to Midoriya. But what? I also wanted to sit next to him. The whole 30 minutes was wasted by two girls arguing on who would sit next to Izuku. Even Aizawa couldn't stop them, as his voice is drowned out by Momo's arguing. In the end, Izuku didn't sit next to neither of them, much to their dismay. Can things get any worse? He asked himself before shortly afterwards, a voice emanates not too far from him. Ribbit, Chapter 4, Suyu Azui, you DMN nerd, wake up. Izuku was awakened on his desk, by none other than that Pomeranian with anger issues, Kaken. I need to talk to you for a DMN minute. What is it? Who is that hero? The one who defeated that sludge guy, decimated those training robots, and saved that Yaoyorozu. Ask more slowly, would you? Izuku yawned, and in his field of vision he sees both Uraraka and Momo, both holding a bento. Izuku then remembered, ah yes, I forgot to bring my food, Midoriya-kun. Midoriya. Both of them went over to Izuku's desk, with Momo kicking Bakugo in the butt, sending him flying away crashing to Shudo Todoroki, another classmate with a scar on his face, and a monotone hair color. Bakugo yelled at Momo, before realizing where did he landed on Todoroki's arm, in a princess carry. What are you doing, but? Bakugo growled. Not getting you hurt. Never expected some angry multi-talented firehead like you would be kicked away that easily. Take that back. And they fight each other, as the ground around them became smoke clouds. Ida went over to stop them from fighting, only for him to be SCKED into the fight like how a vacuum cleaner SCKS down dust. Midoriya-kun here, you can have my bento. No, have mine. Hers is poisonous. Why you don't have proof? They continued to bicker as Izuku covered his ears. Ever since he saved Momo that day, the both of them would often fight when they were about to give him something. Now Izuku didn't know whether if he is hungry or having a headache. In the end he picked Uraraka's bento, much to Momo's dismay. Later that day, Izuku trains by himself at the field, practicing his combos until he felt thirsty from the heat of the sun. Looking for this, rib bit. Izuku turned around to see a black-haired girl with odd features, and she just croaked like a frog. Ah, thank you, Azui-san. This girl is Tsuyu Azui, her quirk allows her to have abilities akin to that of a frog. Whether if it's jumping, swimming or even lengthening her own tongue. The both of them sat down beneath a tree, as Izuku gulped down his water bottle in an instant. I thought I was gonna die, I've underestimated today's heat. You shouldn't be overexerting yourself, Ribbit. Thanks again, but I had to do this, it's in order for me to reduce the chance of being injured from using my quirk. And may I see your quirk? Of course, Azui-san. Which one, though? The one you used that time, when that giant practice robot is trashed, Ribbit. Izuku shook. He couldn't let Tsuyu know yet, could he? Promise me, don't tell this to anyone, especially Kaken, alright? Izuku took his buckle from his sports bag, and puts it on his waist, and it fastens itself. The card book opens, and a card flies out. Henshin. Transform card, Deku, and Izuku transformed into his costume, in front of Tsuyu who eyed him with awe. Alright, the one I used that day, final attack card, Gravity. A random poorly rooted tree was then lifted as the gravity went to 0, and Izuku inserted the other card. Final attack card, DDD Deku, and Izuku kicked the tree, making it burn as it soars out through the sky, making it look like a meteorite. It explodes in the middle of the air, and it was seen by Bakugo. Did he appear again? Back at where Izuku is, Tsuyu applauded at the quirks she saw. Amazing. But wasn't the first quirk you used was Ochako's? It is. I don't know how, but this card book, it has all the quirks belonging to the male students, but for some reason I still don't have the girls' quirks. The ones I got were Uraraka's just now, and recently I got Yaoyorozu-san's quirk here. Izuku explained, showing the cards to Tsuyu. With that book and belt you can be a pro hero in a second, Ribbit. But where did you get them? A person, wearing the costume that you saw just now gave them to me. He didn't speak much, but he just gave them and left. But I can swear that he looked familiar. I see. Then you are miles better from me, what? Don't get yourself down, Azui-san. I mean, you have an interesting quirk, just like how frogs can be. You do. Tsuyu perked up. I mean, even me who was born quirkless finds many things interesting. Tsuyu's heart then warms itself, as she then looked down. It was then when several cards flew out, and Izuku sees that cards that displayed Tsuyu and her abilities glowed, and they gained her powers. What happened? Izuku then showed her the cards, and she raised a brow. But, what does this mean? I don't know. I mean, every time I gained these cards the powers they represent, the original quirk owners then suddenly became close to me. Like Ochako and Yaomomo. Well, yes, wait, Yaomomo. That's what us girls called her, Ribbit. And to be frank, Midoriya, I think I may also be attracted to you. And in the distance, a certain grape-headed midget hears it all. This is Minoru Mineta. Like I said, he is a midget, and he is a pervert with dirty thoughts that are easy to read. And there he goes again, he scored another gal. I wonder when am I gonna score mine. Mineta then became even more angrier as he sees Tsuyu wrapping her long tongue around Izuku's body, pulling him in for a hug before releasing the tongue. He became so angry that he then punched the closest thing next to him, and much to his dismay, grrkkk, it was Bakugo's ball that he punched just now. Uh-oh, you'll pay. For this, you grape-headed. A loud scream was then heard, as Izuku and Tsuyu then went back to class safely. But they didn't notice the flying pile of the a school uniform following them from behind, apparently also witnessing everything that happened, even the ones before Tsuyu's hug. Chapter 5, Toru Hagakure. Izuku is walking his way towards the 1A classroom as he forgot to take his card book which he left inside his desk for the second time. He took the book, and looked around twice as he felt a pair of eyes watching him. He shrugged it off and walked away, not noticing the floating clothes behind him opening the supply closet quietly. So that book is where his quirks are. The pile of clothes followed him around, as Izuku then felt like being followed after a minute passed. And when he turned around, he was surprised to see them. Jaya! Both of them screamed at the same time, out of surprise. Oh, it's just you, Hagakure, Izuku said, holding his chest, heart still beating from the surprise. This invisible figure is named Toru Hagakure, one of Izuku's classmates in 1A. It's nothing, really, I just wanted to talk. Talk? About what? The hero that defeated the sludge villain, one of the practice bots, and that drill villain who attacked Yaomomo, was it you? I don't know what you're talking about. I witnessed everything, Midoriya. Being stealthy is my forte. It looks like that I won't be able to lie. Oh, okay, I am that hero, what of it? Then Toru went over to attack Izuku, however he stepped out of the way making her trip and fall, but Izuku grabbed her before she reaches the floor flatlined. Why are you helping me? Well, I think I should ask you, what are you just trying to do? It's complicated. Well, maybe we indeed need to talk so that I know why are you trying to attack. They went out of the school grounds together, and went to a cafe. Toru sat down on her chair, and began. So, about earlier, what about earlier? I just had a crazy dream last night. I see heroes, our classmates and other students of you. Teaming up with villains to try defeating one mysterious figure, and that figure is that masked one, the one you transformed into. He's a devil. A devil. I mean, he does beat up villains, but in a brutal way that it went against the administration rules. As a result he was targeted. That belt, why did he give it to me? And what happened in the end of the dream? All of us, heroes and villains alike, are killed. Izuku's heart sank at the revelation. The belt he was given was used to bring an end to heroes and villains. I'm just afraid you might end up being like him, or dead or worse, a concerned muttering left Toru's invisible lips. Well, it's just a dream, right? Well, don't fret about it. Even if it is about the future, I can still change it by my actions here at present. What makes you think that, Midoriya? Because I believe I can. And I would save everyone, protect every one of their smiles. Izuku's determination made Toru's heart skip a beat, before Izuku's card book pulsated inside his bag. Izuku opened it, and several cards flew out. They are Toru's quirks and abilities. So can I get you anything, Midoriya? She sounded nervous. She's also fallen for Izuku, like the previous 3 girls before her. I'm fine, I can order by myself. It feels like we are both dating, aren't we? Together at a cafe, well you know. Toru asked. It was then when suddenly Uraraka, Momo and Tsuyu walked by. After seeing Izuku with the invisible Toru, they barged into the cafe, took a couple of chairs and sat with them. Midoriya, can I get you anything? The 3 of them asked in unison. Can things get any worse? However, in the table behind where Deku and his HRM is sitting, sat a blonde-haired boy, an angry look on his face as he heard everything that Izuku and Toru have been talking about. Bakugo has finally found out, Deku is the masked figure back then. He couldn't wait to test his strength against his supposed-to-be childhood friend he bullied all the time back in elementary and middle school. Chapter 6, Facing Kaken. Izuku headed back to the school grounds, and is on his way to the training grounds when he sees a familiar figure back facing him. Kaken, what are you doing out here, this late? DMN nerd, fight me. Ha. What are you saying, Kaken? I said fight me. Izuku shook. Did Bakugo really ask him to fight? Izuku puts on his buckle, and pulled out the transform card. I guess you already knew, Kaken. Of course I would know, you couldn't hide it forever, idiot. Henshin. Transform card. Deku. After transforming, Deku puts on a fighting stance as he faces Bakugo, who cracked his knuckles. Let's go, DMN nerd. Attack card. Engine boost. Izuku puts a card into the reader, and he moved in double speed, dodging Bakugo's charge, making him miss, blowing up the air in front of him. And without warning, Bakugo was sent flying by 2 hits from nowhere. It turns out that Izuku had used Ida's quirk to double his speed into that of a high-speed engine. Time out, the buckle's AI said, and Izuku returned into normal speed. So that quirk card has a time limit, Izuku said to himself as the card reappears inside the book. He takes another card and inserted it into the reader. Now let's try this. Form card. Bakugo noticed that he uses a card that had Momo's portrait on it, and quickly moved towards Izuku ready to blast him away before he makes a shield, but, Kriati, Glock, and Izuku shot Bakugo out of his tracks, sending him back to the ground, holding the gunshot wound. Are you alright? Support card. Recovery. In an instant, Bakugo's wounds heal up, and he looked up to Izuku before standing up and walking away angrily, not being able to land a single hit to the person who he thought is useless ruins his pride. The next day, Aizawa would give them their next training. One team is to defuse some sort of fake nuke while the other act as villains to defend it. In order to join the training, Izuku's mother Inko made him a handmade costume, one that looked nearly similar to the costume which Izuku transformed into. However, this set lacks the large white bracers, and uses a normal red belt. Izuku is teamed with Uraraka, although he blushed nervously when Uraraka came up to him and happily announced that they're in the same team. During the training, Izuku would encounter Bakugo again. The both of them fought, although Izuku avoided using his card, not wanting the rest of the class to know his secret yet. Why didn't you transform, idiot? We are being watched. I don't care about that, DMN nerd. Just use one card. One card. Alright then, Izuku sighed, before he threw a smoke bomb he had crafted at home to the floor, before taking the card. He transformed into his other costume, and inserted another card as Bakugo dashed forwards. Attack card. Invisible. Then Izuku vanished from sight, making Bakugo look around for him, only for him to receive a chop in the back of the neck, by Izuku, who undid his transformation just in time as the smoke ceased. Sorry, I couldn't risk it, Kaken. DMN nerd, don't belittle me. He stood up, and prepared to blast Izuku into next week. A powerful explosion fills the hall, however when the smokes fade, it turns out that Izuku caught Bakugo's arm, and the blast only damaged his costume. Detroit Smash. Izuku then uppercuts Bakugo, sending him up, and destroying multiple floors in the process. And in Izuku's vision he sees both Uraraka and Ida falling down from the great height. Having no other choice, he quickly transformed back, and used his card. Attack card, engine boost. The engine boost increases his speed as he appears to be running up on the walls, grabbing both Ida and Uraraka, putting them to safety, before going towards the fake nuke, and securing it. Afterwards he remembered that Bakugo is still hanging on the ceiling, his head buried through the hard surface, and he tries to get himself off until he uses his quirk to blow the ceiling, causing him to fall down. Izuku, Ida, and Uraraka caught him, cushioning his fall. They took Bakugo to the infirmary, along with Izuku himself, to get his arm fixed from using Detroit Smash. However, despite all this, you'd think I would have some sort of respect towards you. You're just DMN lucky, DMN Deku. He muttered on the infirmary bed, scaring Uraraka and Izuku as he said those words in a cryptic tone. The teachers who were watching their progress were surprised at Izuku being able to save everyone within a minute's notice. One of them, an adult woman with dark hair, liked her lips looking at Izuku's exposed face as his mask crumbles. Chapter 7, Namuri Kayama. Izuku is in the middle of finishing a written assignment for modern art history class, receiving looks from the girls who had been smitten on him previously. The girls noticed each other's gazes on him, and begin to turn into glares. Even Izuku felt cold from Toru's invisible eyes. He looked over to the desk of Kaminari Denki, who is trying to peek on another's worksheet, until suddenly a WHP is lashed onto his desk. Kaminari Denki, you're getting a 0. You may leave the class to grief over it. The voice, and the WHP belonged to Namuri Kayama, the modern art history teacher in U.A., and Izuku knew her as the pro hero Midnight, better known for her title as AR-18 hero for her SDSM and outfit. Kaminari tried to make a reason, but Midnight just gave him an icy glare, causing him to run out. His fake crying can be heard throughout the hallways. Izuku continued to finish his worksheet, as he noticed that one more person other than the girls who had fallen for him has lied their eyes on him. From his peripheral vision, he could see Midnight staring at him intently. Is she concerned that Izuku might cheat it out like Kaminari? Heck, no. He came here to U.A. to be a hero, even if he had to study hard for it as well. Midoriya. Izuku. You shall remain in the classroom after the class ends for a moment. It was at this moment when the girls broke their sights from Izuku, and turned towards the R-18 hero. Ah, great. I know this is going to happen. Watch over me, All Might. Elsewhere, All Might sneezes as he put a chess piece into its next move. He is playing with a mouse-like humanoid, who is the principal of UA, Nizu. My, is there something wrong? No, it's nothing. Must have been a breeze. Back at Izuku, he remained in the classroom after everyone else had left. So, Midoriya. Izuku, right? Also known as Deku. You, how did you know my identity, sensei? The costume Deku wears looks exactly the same as what you wear, but more advanced. Too bad the other students couldn't notice it. You should know this. Bad boys shouldn't be cheating during the hero test yesterday by using those gadgets you hid. She dug into the desk, and took out the buckle and book. Please, give them back, sensei. I am afraid you are in no position to make demands, Midoriya. I'm just going to play with these for a moment. She opened the card book, and made an intrigued whistling. Here's my quirk, but why is the card gray, unlike the others? It still hasn't gotten its power yet. I couldn't use it. Do tell me, how do you gain power for the cards? I don't know. The boys' quirks got powered up when I first met them. As for the girls, I just had to talk to them, and then they would suddenly have a red face. Then, now I get it. You stuck girls to get their quirks. Of course. Wait, sensei. It's not that. Some of them were in trouble before, and I helped them. That's all. You sure are an interesting. The card on Namuri's hand then glowed, and much to both of their surprise it has gained color. And a cutie to top it off. Maybe you need to visit me at the office sometimes. What? But aren't student-teacher relationships forbidden? It won't be a problem as long as nobody knew, right? She then gave his buckle, card and books back before leaving. Oh yeah, tomorrow you're going to USJ, right? Do your best, boy. Izuku still sat there, he couldn't process what is exactly happening as of now. But he do know that he might get even more experience at the USJ. He looked at his buckle and book, and left the classroom. Chapter 8, USJ Incident. All Might has been inducted into U.A.'s faculty, and everyone had to distance themselves from the press, who were later repelled thanks to the U.A. barrier, which is just a high-tech gate. Today is also the day that Class 1A would be brought to the USJ Dome for further training, assisted by the Pro Hero, 13. Everyone listened to Aizawa's instructions, save for two blonde buds, one whom is an angry multi-talented Pomeranian, and the other is a literal walking power bank with low academic skills. However, later on a black portal opens and everyone begins to ask if this is part of the test or not. Too bad, it's real. Izuku, who is left behind after he forgot something, rushed into the dome and noticed the oddity inside. He puts on the buckle, and inserted the card to transform. Transform card, Deku. Afterwards he ran inside, and towards the group. Everyone. What is going on around here? You are villains, real villains are attacking the dome. You've gotta help us. Uraraka pleaded, and Izuku nodded. The villains in front of them then noticed Izuku's presence, and they backed off as if they fear him. Tamura. That's the devil. One of the villains shouted. Him, a devil? Ochako questioned as she looked over at Deku. That's what Hagakure called me when she confronted me as well. Ochako, did you have a crazy dream, by any chance? Uraraka begins to back off, and Deku nodded. I'll take that as a yes, then. It means whatever happened in the future caused me to make you all, whether you're heroes or villains, to turn on me. Deku then readied a card, as the crusty-lipped Tamura chuckled. He's the devil. He doesn't look like much. Who are you, brat? Just a passing-through hero, remember that. Attack card, blast. Deku then pointed his right arm towards the villains, and a blast of homing bullets flew out from his gauntlet. However, they were all stopped as one of the villains conjured a black mist. When Deku realizes it, he finds himself being submerged into a body of deep water. This is the flood zone. Deku said through his mask, as it seems to have a rebreather of its own. He then noticed a shark-like figure swimming towards him, and in the last second he felt a long tongue had wrapped itself around him. He was then pulled out of the water and was thrown onto a ship, and he looked at his savior. Ah, thank you, Azui, please, Midoriya. Call me Tsu, Ribbit. Alright. However, they heard screaming coming from a midget about to drown in the water, and the shark villain is not far from him. It's Mineta. They had to help him, even though his ethics are questionable. Izuku looked at his card book, and as he think a card flew out. He then inserted it inside the reader. Quirk Conquer card, FF Froppy, Tsu, this might tickle a little. Ribbit. Tsuyu croaked as Deku suddenly slapped her in the back. Like both Ochako and Momo, she turned into a ball of light that went inside Deku's body. Deku then proceeded to insert another card. Attack card, Frog Tongue. The mouth guard on Deku's mouth opens a little, and a long tongue flew out from it, which grabbed Mineta by the stomach, and pulled him out of the water, sending him to crash onto the ship. Oh, we be more gentle next time, Tsuyu. Stay there. Deku replied as he put another card into the reader. The shark villain jumped out of the water lunging at them, showing its fangs. Final attack card, FF Froppy. Deku then jumped onto the air as high as he can but not crashing onto the ceiling, and in midair, he did one front flip to execute a kick. The kick went down in a nose-dive speed which hits the villain in the cheeks, breaking all of his fangs in one hit. Now you won't bite anyone with a mouth like that. Attack card, Bind. This time, a few lasers begin to appear and circle themselves around the villain, before he then vanished slowly. He would later show up at a prison, all bound up. Back at the USJ, Deku released Tsuyu from his body as the latter then returned from being a ball of light into her own body. Whoa, now that felt amazing, Ribbit. What's amazing? Ah, don't tell me you both. Then, a long tongue slapped Mineta in the cheek, knocking him out. Let's just get him to safety before he wakes up. What about you, Ribbit? I'll help the others, now go. A card flies out from the book, and it begins to power up. Izuku inserted the card into the reader. Attack card, Warp Gate, the same black mist which was made by the villain from before then appears from Deku's gauntlets as he shot them, and Deku went inside it. Beyond the gate are Kaminari, Momo, and a girl with earphone jacks defending themselves at the mountain zone. Where did he come from? Sorry, had to go fishing to get here. Deku then turned his gaze at the villains surrounding them. As for all of you, let me play with you now. Attack card, Electrical Stream, Yaoyorozu, cover yourselves. This might tingle a little. Momo nodded, and conjured a large sheet to cover herself, the earphone girl and Kaminari. Deku begins to levitate from his position, as a huge stream of electric currents flowed out of his body, electrocuting everything in the vicinity. Isn't that my quirk? Just who is this guy? No doubt, he's the devil I saw. Momo then shut the girl up, with her index finger giving a gaze that says, he's no devil. But Yao Momo, if it's about that dream, Jairu, forget about it. Jairu nodded nervously as she continued to gaze at Deku with full of resentment. Well, that's it for this zone. Attack card, Warp Gate. Deku then went into the black mist he created from his gauntlets, and he finds himself near the exit where he sees 13 battling the villain whose Warp Gate quirk Deku stole. This is Kurojairi. Kurojairi caused 13's black hole to backfire on herself. Before she even knew what happened, she finds herself beside Deku. How am I? And on her last place, was Kurojairi about to be turned into dust? And that devil, he stole my quirk as well. He then created another gate to transport himself out of harm's way. Now go and call the cavalry, if you could. I've sent Ida already, they'll be here soon. Good to know, then. Attack card, Warp Gate. Deku prepares to walk into the mist he created, but was stopped by 13. Wait. Who are you, exactly? Quirk Ruler, Deku. In an instant, Deku was then transported to the central plaza where he sees Aizawa struggling on the ground against an odd-looking villain, and Tamura himself. Is that him, the devil? It is him. Do whatever you want, Nomu, so you can avoid facing both him and All Might simultaneously. Attack card, Detroit Smash. Deku dashed over to the being named Nomu, and punched him in the gut only for the attack to be absorbed. So this thing is built to withstand one for all. Interesting. Oh, a quick learner as expected of a devil. But you're just blabbing like the mongrel you are. I just need 10 seconds to fight with you. Attack card, Engine Boost, Recipro. A voice of an engine begins to roar, as Deku went into a Mach 6 dash, attacking Nomu from different sides as he whizzed past him. Nomu was unable to keep up with him due to his huge stature. Unlike Ida-san, in which this attack would make him forcibly accelerate, which is full of risks, this card allows me to move freely without any risk. Oh honor, DMNU, Deku. The artificial villain shouted, as he felt his strength fading from having to withstand the speed and power of Deku's attacks. And before Deku lands the final blow, a figure appears and punched Nomu in the stomach, sending him flying away. All Might. I am here. Sorry if I'm too late, young Midori, Deku. You knew. Heh. Everyone should have known, judging by your color of choice. But they're too oblivious to notice. Well, thank Tokusatsu logic for that. Deku's sweat dropped. Deku then looked to see Tamura tearing up. So even a crusty-lipped degenerate can cry. What a surprise. Beside him, a portal appears and Kurojairi walked out from it only to fall down on his rear at the sight of Deku and All Might in front of him. I came at the wrong time, did I? Yes, dead wrong. Now what shall I do with you both? Shall I cook you up a little, half done or well done? Deku asked, as he pulled out a card with the face of Todoroki Shudo on it. Both Tamura and Kurojairi took a step back slowly, as Kurojairi created another warp portal so that both of them can escape. Deku turned his gaze towards All Might, and told him, "Please do not tell the others about my secret." Before warping away with the warp gate card which transported him to where Ochako is, and he undid his transformation just in time as the other teachers burst into the building. "Wait, so where's the enemy?" one of the teachers, Ectoplasm, asked. I was sure there was this guy who shot black portals at me. I am serious, sensei. Ida tried to tell the teachers. All of them are in confinement already, if you're asking, sensei. Izuku said, trying to not giving the facts away. All of them bought it, except for Midnight, who already knows who is the sole hero responsible. A small smile crept up on her face. However, amidst all that, Izuku didn't notice the girl with short black hair and earphone jacks peeking at him from behind a corner. Her gaze is full of resentment as she saw who is behind that mask. Chapter 9, Quirk Sniper. Nobody knew who that hero was, who single-handedly beat the villains back at USJ, except for a select few. One of them includes a black-haired girl who uses earphone jacks to attack. Now she is gazing at Izuku Midoriya with full of hatred as she wrote down notes during class. However, she could not do anything in the middle of the class. She doesn't want to get in trouble. And so she waited for the opportunity, which is during the end of school for the day. Everyone else has packed up their belongings and went home except for Izuku and her. Midoriya. Ah, Jairu, isn't it? I see we're not familiar as of yet. I am Jairu Kyoka, and I have a question for you. Go ahead. Izuku doesn't like where this is going. Do you know who is the masked hero that saved everyone back at the USJ? What? I mean, I don't know what you're talking about. Don't spew nonsense. I saw you undoing your transformation. I guess I really couldn't make it stay a secret for long, huh? Yes, I am that hero. Why are you asking that for? Jairu's earphone jacks then lengthens itself and pierced through the floor. In an instant Izuku hears an extremely loud banging, so loud that he had to cover his ears. A sound amplifying quirk. I will end you, right here and now. Nobody is here to witness it. I shall save everyone. Jairu stated her motive as Izuku knelt down onto the floor. Jairu closes her distance to Izuku, hands ready to choke the life out of the poor cinnamon roll. The earphone jacks unplug themselves from the floor, and as Jairu is centimeters away from him, transform card, Deku, Izuku turned into Deku, and quickly warped himself away using the warp gate card, which infuriates Jairu. She was so close. Jairu walked her way home, listening to some punk rock along the way. She sensed that she was being followed, and she turned around to see a couple of unnamed villains readying their weapons. Why here of all places, and time? It isn't even night yet. Jairu then plugged her earphone jacks into the ground, trying to amplify her heartbeat, just like what she did with Izuku earlier. However, the villains didn't flinch. It turns out that they are wearing earplugs to counter Jairu's attack. Jairu ran away, until she stumbled upon a dead end. She turned around and leaned into the wall with fear. The villains are about to lay their hands on her when a gunshot rang through the air. What do we have here? Some bad boys trying to do lecherous things to an innocent. All of them looked up, to see a long-haired girl wearing a high uniform. Who on earth is she? Jairu asked as she never saw this girl before. If you want to have fun with someone, let One-ichan teach you a lesson. She inserted 2 cards into her gun, which had a driver attached onto the barrel. Summon card, Tamura, summon card, Dabi. She then pulled the trigger as 2 silhouettes later were shot from the gun, and they materialize on the ground in front of the other villains. Jairu widened her eyes upon seeing Tamura. She remembered him during USJ. What is he doing with this girl? The unnamed villains tried to strike them, but they were no match for these 2 high-ranked villains. Return cards. The villains then turned back into cards and flew towards the girl. She jumped down from the roof, and offered Jairu a hand. Got you, Jairu Kyoka. How do you know my name? Long story. Now you should head home. Good girls don't stay outside until it's late, she said, smirking menacingly. Right. But who are you again? Jairu looked to her side, and when she returned her sights to ask the girl, she disappeared. That was quick. But now Jairu had more questions. Who is that One-chan she just saw? And why does she look like Midoriya? She looks like him, I wonder why. Meanwhile Izuku warped in front of his home and opened the door. I'm home. Ah, I-chan. You're early. Yes, Mom. The trains are early as well. He couldn't tell his mother yet as well. But he still couldn't get over the fact that Jairu knew about his secret. He doesn't remember seeing her when he undid his transformation back then. Maybe tomorrow, he can explain to the black-haired girl. Chapter 10, Kyoka Jairu. It has been announced that there will be a sports festival in UA, and that the entire class needs to participate in the event. Izuku peeked around a corner, making sure that Jairu isn't waiting for him. Luckily she isn't, and he went inside the classroom safely where he sees Jairu talking with the other girls in class. Is it true? A girl, who looks similar to Midoriya. The pink-skinned Mina Ashido asked. Yes. When I ask who she is, she just vanished like how those ghosts do in the movies. They continue to bicker, until Izuku joined in on the chat. Good morning. What is it about a girl who looked like me? It's none of your business. Jairu spat out. Jairu, Momo called out, in a scolding tone. Alright. So it's like this. Izuku widened his eyes at the story that Jairu had told him. You're saying that she uses cards as well. But they're for summoning people instead of using their quirks. Yes. Remember that crusty-lipped villain we encountered back at USJ? For some reason, she was able to summon him. Who is this girl? Izuku asked mentally until Jairu snapped him out of his trance. We still need to talk. After school, like yesterday. This again, Jairu. I mean, please. I don't know if I can change what would happen. Maybe I should have been trusting you. The school day went on as usual, and this time Jairu follows Izuku on his way home. Why are you following me? Making sure you don't murder some villain. It's against regulations, you know. I told you, I won't. It was then when a group of villains appear on the street. Oh great, at a time like this. They like to target students these days. The both of them ran away until they got into an alleyway, and hid behind a dumpster. So, what's the plan? I'll transform. I can give you time to escape. Henshin. Transform card, Deku. Izuku transformed into his costume, and swiped his hands, before standing up and charging the villains, single-handedly defeating them with his fighting skills. He turned around to see Jairu being blocked by a group of other unnamed villains, ganging up on her. Jairu, duck. Attack card, blast. With a blizzard of homing bullets, the group that blocked Jairu were all knocked out as she crouched down to avoid getting shot as well. That was dangerous. Why are you helping me? Meddling with situations like this, is what a hero do, right? You tried as well during our meeting yesterday. You tried to end me, so that the future you saw in your dream can be avoided. You cared for those people who died there, and that's what made you a hero at heart, Kyoka Jairu. Jairu's face reddens, before a card then flew from the card book and onto Deku's hand. Some of the villains that were knocked down got back up, and Deku quickly put the card into the reader. Quirk Conquer card, earphone jack. Jairu, this might tickle a little. Jairu turned her gaze back towards Deku, who slapped her in the back. Whoa, wah. Jairu turned into a ball of light, and went inside Deku's body. He pulled out a card, and inserted it into the reader. Form card, Creati, custom. With Momo's power, Deku conjured a pair of taiko drumsticks, and a huge drum. Another card then flew by itself into the card reader. Attack card, earphone jack. From the rabbit ear-like parts of Deku's mask, a pair of earphone jacks sprouted out, and attached themselves into the drum before another card flew into the reader. Final attack card, earphone jack. With that, Deku then struck the drum with the taiko sticks, which caused a shockwave to surge in the bodies of the villains in front of him. This version of the earphone jack quirk can be used by the user to choose targets rather than attacking an area of effect. In this case, he targets the villains. Deku, the villains begin to kneel down, as Deku then increases the volume of his drum beatings. Tradition, Deku continues to beat the drums amplified by the jacks, this time with a more gentle beating. Green, and with the preparation of a final beat, few lasers begin to appear, about to bind themselves around the villains in front of them. With all his strength, Deku struck the drum for the last time. Bind, the lasers bind their targets, before sending them to a nearby prison for confinement. Once again, the warden is surprised to see bounded villains in front of him, all of them look like they were suffering from an ear rape. As Izuku undoes his transformation, Jiraiya floated back out and returned into her own person. Now that's one experience I'll never forget. Thank you, Midoriya. Anytime, Jiraiya. With a happy grin, he said. A grin that causes Jiraiya's heart to skip a beat. Izuku then looked at his watch, before running off. I need to go home now. Mom's gonna scold me if I'm late. Alright then. Jiraiya turned around, still blushing and her heart beating rapidly. Is this what the other girls felt when Izuku made them fall for him? Wasting no time, Jiraiya then headed for her home. In the distance, a certain pinky girl witnessed it from behind a corner and grinned. So that's how he unlocks powers for the cards. I think I should make my move tomorrow, to be continued. Chapter 11, Mina Ashido, plus the Quirk sniper strikes again. A loud scream of agony rang throughout the small alleyway, in the dead of night. The figure of Dabi just rendered someone immobile after burning the opponent with his blue flames. I guess, Wani-chan should now confiscate your quirk. A feminine voice said behind Dabi. The feminine figure then forcefully grabbed the victim by the head, and skinging out his life energy and quirk. Another villain dead. The next day, Izuku is looking at the recent news through his phone. More villains are found dead with no life fluids in them. What on earth is going on here? Not just that, it was reported that they had their quirks forcibly stolen. Yo, Midoriya, a cheerful voice chirped. Izuku then felt a little weight on his shoulders. It is Mina Ashido, one of his classmates. What are you reading? Oh, it's nothing. Another villain murdered. Too late, she already saw the headlines before Izuku shut off his phone. I've been wondering as well, Ashido-san. Who caused this? I mean, I know that Tamura, the villain we saw back then, once touched someone's skin, and they disintegrate into dust. But this is just crossing the line. Well, whether the murderer is either a villain, vigilante, or even a hero, I don't mind. At least the street's a bit safer. But this is just scaring the others. Even Kaken over there is shaking a bit. Izuku pointed to Bakugo, whose trembling can be obviously seen. I'm not afraid, I'm not afraid, I'm not afraid of some murderer, I'm not. Behind him, is a red-haired boy. His name is Eijiro Kirishima, whose quirk is to harden his body. He had a wide grin, and whispered in Bakugo's ear. I've come to SCK out your fluids, and he was met with an explosive blast which sends him flying back to his seat, and he fell unconscious, although if one sees from afar it looked like he's asleep on class. Forget about Bakugo, I mean, you know what I mean. She begins to slide Izuku by the chin. Wait, what? I know your secret as well like the other girls before me. I want to experience what it felt like being inside your body. Alright, now if we're speaking out of context, people will misunderstand. Izuku gently pushed Mina away, which she responded with a pouty face. A light bulb then appears on top of Mina's head, and she makes a rather creepy grin. Now that's a RPE face if I ever see one, Mineta thought, gazing at the two from the door. He was just on his way back from the restroom doing whatever he does. Midoriya, can you walk me home after school? So it isn't RPE after all. DMNPMP, now the whole class's gals are onto him. Mineta's face then distorted as his eyes widened at the shocking truth. Because Mina is the last person in the classroom who hasn't truly fallen for Izuku like the others yet. Mina is a matchmaker, and she knows a good pairing when she sees one. However, after knowing that Izuku scored all the other girls in the classroom, she begins to think, which pairing is going to be the best. This dilemma caused her to miss much more of the lessons during study session. And finally, after school Izuku really walked her home. Midoriya. Yes, Ishido-san. You know, I'm just confused here. You scored a lot, I'm beginning to wonder if I should work hard like you or just give up. Mina asked, her lying is completely bought by the boy next to her. What are you talking about? You shouldn't give up. No matter what studies there are, you should be able to accept all of them, and study hard. Remember, an educated hero is also better, at the same level as those who would save anyone anytime. Mina shook a bit, before she looked away, feeling heat rushing up to her face. Ah no, I think my acid's leaking from this heat anyway. It's rather quiet, isn't it? I mean, some random villain doesn't ambush us along the way this time. Now that you're talking, it is rather quiet, too quiet, in fact. Izuku said, pulling out his card from the card book. Henshin. What are you doing? Transform card, Deku, get down. In an instant, Mina then ducked down, as a fist flew towards Izuku who is transforming into Deku. He blocked the fist with only his index finger. It's a metallizing quirk. You're rather creative using it to cover your arms with these metals, strong as steel. The enemy is no other than the random villain that got murdered the night before. He, somehow came back to life just to get to Izuku. Izuku then knocked him back using a kick to his torso. A card then flew out, revealing that it has gained its power. Quirk Conquer card, PP Pinky, Ishido-san. You want to experience it, right? This might tickle a little. And with no hesitation Izuku slapped Mina in the back, and she turned into a ball of light which goes into him. A few more cards then flew out. The metal villain recovered, and tries to charge at Deku again, who inserted another card into the reader. Attack card, Acid Shot. Meanwhile, at another location is a group consisting of Bakugo, Ida, Mineta and Kaminari facing a rather appealing girl wearing the a school uniform. So she's the culprit. She needs to be taught a lesson for breaking the regulations provided by the, for eyes. Stop your speech and let's get this done already. Mineta and Kaminari readied their quirks, as Bakugo and Ida approached the girls slowly. Era. You're approaching me, boys. We couldn't beat the CRP out of you, if we don't get any closer. Bakugo replied. Well, face these first. The girl pulled out a gun, and puts in a couple of cards. Tenya, Grape Juice, Ground Zero, Charge Bolt, and she pulled the trigger as 4 holograms then appeared, whizzing around in front of the 4 boys. When they stopped, the boys were shocked. She summoned clones of themselves, in their hero costumes. What is this CRP about? Sending us against us. Ah, good old Katsuki, always explosive even in person. You're making Wanichan blush. Shut your mouth, DMN where. Bakugo charged first, trying to land a fist on the girl, but was blocked by his clone, who then punched him with a blast. Back at Deku, he sends the metal villain flying to a wall, his body melting slowly due to the acid that had sprayed him. Mina flew out of his body, and with a she turned back into herself. Now that was like heaven. Now for the grand finale. Final attack card, DDD Deku. Deku then raised his right arm pointing towards the leaning villain, as a row of holographic cards then appear. And with a grunt, a green blast shoots out of the gauntlet, phasing through the cards, and hitting the villain. The villain screamed, before he glows in a white light, turning into a card. The card flies away, as Izuku then walked Mina home, not knowing that Bakugo and the others are still fighting. Back at Bakugo however, the group has finally defeated their clones somehow, and their clones turn into cards. Mineta knelt down, exhausted from all the fighting. "No more summoning this time, Thunder Tips," Mineta taunted. "Looks like it's just you now, murderer." "You are under arrest for violating the administration's regulations," Ida said. The girl just smiled, her eyes half open. Kaminari readied his electricity, and ran towards the girl attempting to land an electrocuting punch, but not until she puts a card into the gun's attached card reader. As a result, the punch hits an invisible wall in front of her. "Arrest me." "Oh, Ida-chan always following the rules, are we?" "I am not the easy type to be arrested." A bright light then blasts Kaminari off from her, and when the glow dissipated, her new form emerges. She looks nearly similar to that masked hero who has been saving people lately, save for the white linings instead of black, and blue-eye visors. She also had a cape that splits into two, making it shaped like a stag beetle's horn. "How do you like Wani-chan's true form?" "Even All Might fears this form in my world, your world." "Just who are you?" Mineta asked. "I am Midoriya Izumi. Quirk sniper, wanted for murder in my world, worth 1,000,000,000 yen now." "Ida-chan, what shall you do now?" Bakugo shouted a battle cry, and charged ahead. "Wait, Bakugo!" Bakugo tries to punch Izumi, but she caught his fist effortlessly, and his quirk somehow failed to do its job. "Nice gauntlets, Katsuki, did your boyfriend give it to you?" Izumi then pulled Bakugo's arm, forcefully, inviting a gasp coming out of Bakugo's mouth. She spun him around, and forcefully bended his arm 180 degrees, until the sound of bone cracking is heard. Bakugo screams in agony, as she refused to let go of him. "Look at little Mitsuki Jr. gonna cry." Bakugo continued to scream as he felt a fiery heat on his back, and he knows what it is, his own explosive quirk. He was then sent flying back towards the group, with a gaping hole on his torso. Bakugo stopped breathing, and his eyes are closed. "Bakugo!" The other three shouted, and when they checked him for pulse they were lucky. They just need to get him to Recovery Girl in time. "That Thunder Tid!" Mineta growled, as he then threw a couple of his sticky ball towards Izumi. Kaminari helped by imbuing the ball with electricity, and Ida charged ahead with his engine quirk. However, Izumi easily dodged the ball, and caught Ida's fist, twisting it and throwing him back to the other two. She then whizzed past the group, as they got up from the ground. "Izumi, you!" Ida tried to yell. "It's over." It was then when suddenly sparks of energy blew up from beneath the ground, knocking out Mineta and Kaminari in the explosion, while sending Ida flying to a wall. "Wani-chan shall let you little cuties live for now, just remember never to interfere with my actions ever again or there will be a more severe punishment." She laughed maniacally as she walked away. Ida screamed in pain and defeat as she left the broken group. To be continued. Chapter 12, You. A Sports Fest, Awawawo. "Sorry, Katsu." Bakugo's father, Masaru, distanced his hands away from Bakugo, after putting on his cast. "DMN, old man. You know this hurts like hell, right?" I know. I still know how painful it is to have a limb dislocated. Just my goddamn luck, the sports festival is a few days away, and here I am with a broken arm. I don't want to be a Deku, like that DMN nerd." As Masaru tries to calm down his angry Pomeranian son, Mineta just spent his time on his patient bed reading magazines, drooling at the sights in front of him. Both Ida and Kaminari were already healed early, and were in the classroom at U. Ida had to tell the others that Bakugo and Mineta won't be able to attend the festival because of their injuries. Recovery Girl, who had to go due to the emergency, had already healed that gaping hole on Bakugo's body, but he insisted that his arm would heal up on its own until he realized that the festival is a few days away. "So, who attacked you?" "A girl, long green hair, I mean. She looks absolutely similar to Midoriya there." Jairu widened her eyes when she heard that. "That girl caused Bakugo to be hospitalized." She went over to Ida and asked him. "What's that girl's name again, Ida-san?" "Midoriya Izumi." The whole class froze, including Izuku himself. Never in his life he knew of a relative named Izumi. Could this girl be stealing his family name to bring fear and shame upon it? The whole class calmed down after a moment of suspense, and went back to their usual chatting time before Aizawa walks in. Deku, Why are you calling me that, Ochiko? Wait, it's an insult. It is well, you know the meaning. But I think that name can have a meaning. A good one. Really? Yes it does. And then a voice called out to Izuku, and he turned to see Mina skipping towards him. Can you teach me some of this? She then handed Izuku her notebook. Some math problems, that she couldn't answer. But then, another hand took it away, and after the figure finished writing, they gave it back to Mina, who made an annoyed grin. You shouldn't weigh him down with problems like this, Bushido. And there they go again, this time the whole girls in the classroom are bickering over Izuku. He begins to think if making them fall for him is a bad idea after all. This became a daily occurrence, until the sports festival finally begins a few days later. Firstly he met with an eccentric girl who is a genius in craftsmanship. Mei Hatsum, and upon meeting her, one of the cards automatically activates, which is her quirk, Zoom. Perhaps he can use this quirk to be worthy later on. It was Izuku who made the opening words, since the hand-picked candidate Bakugo is absent due to injury. The first race is an obstacle course which Izuku could pass with little effort using his strength and surroundings. This resulted in him getting the most highest score to be captured in the cavalry battle. During the cavalry battle, Izuku barely got the victory and he advanced to the finals, which is a one-on-one tournament. At first his opponent is Hitoshi Shinso, whose quirk is to brainwash people. He barely won, and in the next round he faces Shudo Todoroki. Before the match he met Todoroki's father, Endeavor. I am not All Might, and Todoroki isn't you, Endeavor. We become our own person, without being bound by anything. You're just a young man, like my son. Just who do you think you are? Just a passing through hero, remember that. Endeavor raised one of his fiery eyebrows, before walking off. During the fight with Shudo, Izuku noticed that Shudo didn't use his fire quirk, only his ice half. He began to remember his encounter with Endeavor, and convinced Shudo to use the fire. And the real battle begins, with Shudo barely winning. He then went on to face Tokoyami in the finals, and he won as well by sending Tokoyami off the ring. Bakugo watched the entire thing in the spectator's seat, but what triggered him is that Izuku never transformed. Why is that nerd? I am just as surprised as you are, Katsuki. Bakugo widened his eyes, and turned his gaze to the person next to him. It's none other than Izumi. What are you doing here? Can't a girl watch her twin brother competing in a festival? How rude, Katsuki, twin brother. Just who on earth are you? Promise me you won't be surprised. Good. Now Wani-chan shall tell you her story. Fine. Wani-chan is from another world, one that is already in disarray. Say, do you have a crazy dream where everyone including you died? Bakugo nodded. That's what happened in that world, and Wani-chan had to kill that world's Izuku as a result, which is not easy at all. Bakugo begins to feel intrigued, and let her tell more. I had to train, I stole the quirks from the remaining people who had them, and most who were still conscious after that massacre. Luckily some of the high-ranking villains were still moving, so Wani-chan had to ease them of their suffering, stealing their quirks and turning them into mummies, just like what happened in the news a few days ago, and Wani-chan is afraid you were one of them, Katsuki, Beach. So you killed me. Getting my arm nearly torn off is alright, but killing me. What happened to the law at your world? It's apocalyptic. No heroes, the police force wiped out, and all of the world became a planet of chaos. Where are you going with this? And don't tell me, of course, I met the students at the obstacle course. I was posing as a janitor back then, and I had the complete chance to touch their bodies, and gain their powers here. Bakugo widened his eyes as she pulled out a set of cards. It's the students in their hero costumes, and he feared of what will she use them for after what she did in their first encounter. Oh, and Katsuki make sure Izuku survive, alright. Stay close to him more often, and if he didn't make it One-chan will find you. Izumi stood up, and walked away. Where are you going? Hunting, Katsuchi. Getting bored is the worst thing that could happen to me. Bakugo remained in his seat, shaking. He then looked as the winners received their medals for winning. In the top, Shudo won first place, Tokoyami in the second, and Izuku is the third. Later on, Tenya had to visit the hospital after he received a call. It seems urgent. Chapter 13, V.S. Hero Killer. Tenya visited his brother at the hospital, and upon hearing that he can no longer fight because the hero killer, Stain, had caused it. He doesn't notice the busty long-haired figure overhearing their conversation, and she smirked. She has finally found a suitable target to be hunted. Days later, at U. There is finally the day where the students make their hero names, which all of them made except for Bakugo, who still had a cast on his recovering arm, and that he had to write his hero name left-handed. He became increasingly angry when Midnight doesn't accept the names he had written. They were then given nominations to train under other pro-heroes. Midnight prayed that she would have to nominate Izuku, but the principal noticed her behavior around the boy, and rigged the nomination so that Izuku may train under someone else, and much to All Might's fear, it is Gran Torino, the old pro-hero who is known to be the fastest. Izuku trained under Torino for the whole day. Meanwhile, at a discreet alleyway in Hosu, Izumi meets with a masked man holding blades and daggers. So, I guess we had a deal, then. You can do whatever you want, as long as you give me some people to act as my guards. Stain replied. That won't be a problem. She said, as she loaded 3 cards into her gun. Summon card, Sludge villain, Shark villain, Nomu, and upon the pulling of the trigger, 3 villains appear, being shot out of the gun barrel as holograms at first, before becoming real in a matter of seconds. Now, let me deal with Endeavor, and the other villains that might attack. These 3 should be enough. Just, who are you? Just a passing through Quirk sniper, remember that. Attack card, Warp Gate. Izumi pulls the trigger, opening a black portal which she used to head towards the city square, where she knew Tamura would release his own army of Nomu to terrorize the city. In a matter of seconds, upon touching the Nomu in the vicinity, she stole their powers and life force, transferring them into cards. Now, let's run rampant in my style, she said as she readied the cards. Meanwhile, Torino and Izuku are on a bullet train, in their hero costumes. Izuku had transformed into Deku, whom he named during class that day, which caused Bakugo to glare at him. This also resulted in the entire class knowing Deku's real identity. Well, they're going to know either way. Suddenly, a hero crashes into the train, and a Nomu appears. Torino then tackled it out of the train, to save the passengers and Deku. Deku knew something is wrong in Hosu, and went on to check. In the city square, Endeavor is already there, fighting the Nomu all by himself. What is this? They're much tougher than I expected. It's because they're my summons. Endeavor stood up, and looked at the source of the voice, to see a dark green-haired girl wearing a uniform. Yahoo! It's finally lovely to have met you, pro-hero Endeavor. Who are you? Just a Quirk sniper, nothing much. Then Endeavor remembered what the news yesterday was talking about. The person who caused Tenya and Bakugo to be hospitalized is her. What are you after? Isn't it obvious, Mr. Endeavor? You're Quirk, of course. Hand it over to me. Endeavor then charged towards her, but a Nomu blocked the way, punching him away. I should let you know, that my summons are much more stronger and resilient than the original. Struggle all you want. A winged Nomu crushes Endeavor from above, but was then lifted with little effort. He scorched the Nomu with his quirk, making it return into being a card. You're tougher than I expected, but this One-chan is afraid that this is getting old. Transform card, Quirk sniper. Izumi then transformed into her costume, and whizzed past Endeavor a couple of times, sending him immobile in the air, before she plunged him back into the earth. Now, let this One-chan confiscate your quirk. She enclosed her distance to Endeavor, his fiery body still soars. He made a smirk. You do know that I can scorch you when you get near, right? Izumi chuckled sadistically. How do you think I stole my world's version of Shigaraki Tamura? You're such an airhead to be a hero, Mr. Endeavor. She then inserted a card, attack card, Quirks sniper. She pointed her gun at Endeavor, and pulled the trigger. A huge gust of vacuum-like wind then begins to pull Endeavor's quirk out, in the shape of a fiery ball. Endeavor screamed as he can feel his powers being drained and stolen. Izumi smiled, as she continued to hold her finger on the trigger until suddenly a huge mass hits her in the back, forcing her to cancel stealing Endeavor's quirk. It's Torino, who had smashed the Nomu right towards her. TCH, so I think it won't be that easy. The other Nomu returned, and Izumi blows a kiss towards the two pro heroes. One-chan shall leave these two for you, then bye-bye. She then summoned a portal to warp away, towards Stain. At Stain's location he is overpowering Tenya, final attack card, DDD Deku. Stain was kicked by Deku, who launched through a row of holographic cards. You are Midoriya. I'm sorry I'm late, Ida-san. Leave him to me now. No. You shouldn't be here. Ida-chan is correct. You shouldn't be meddling with something he can't handle. A portal opens behind Stain, revealing a girl in a costume which looked like Deku. That costume and gun, don't tell me you're the— Yes, One-chan is the Quirk sniper everyone is talking about. Izuku, how does she know his name? She may have Midoriya as a surname, but surely, why are you doing this, Izumi? Why indeed? Stain then felt a knife being plunged into his back. You betrayed me. The plan failed, and I'm just here to tie up loose ends after all. I couldn't let you harm Izuku in any way. You don't understand. He has the traits of a true pro hero. I'm not going to, but if you're forced to, then what? Izumi laughed, before kicking Stain off. What's exactly your motive? Oh come on, Izuku, there's no need to be dramatic and thank me for this. After all, you do need to survive. There are other better quirks around that requires this One-chan to snipe. I shall meet you again, Izuku. Izumi then walked off, leaving Deku and Tenya to fend off Stain, who slowly recovered by himself. Despite being wounded, Stain still puts up quite a fight. He attacked Deku with his blades, and at one point tried to skip fighting him to get towards Tenya, forcing Deku to unleash a card. Form card, Kriati, staff. He then conjured a staff using Momo's quirk, and faced off against Stain, and at one point disarmed him. I can counter anything you throw at me. Form card, Kriati, blade. They faced off, locking their blades until Deku kicked him off, and used another card. Final attack card, DDD Deku. Charging up one for all, Deku channels the energy up into the blade, before a row of cards appear in front of him. He dashed through them, and slashed the hero killer 3 times, making Stain's body shut off by itself, losing consciousness but still standing. Deku went over towards Ida, pulled him up and told him to help him carry the unconscious Stain away from the alley. They brought him over to the city square where everyone is gathering. However, Deku was then grabbed by a winged Nomu. After paralyzing it, Stain then chased after them and plunged his blade into the Nomu's brain, killing it. Stain then made a speech for the last time as he landed. A speech that would get new villains to rise, and Tamura begins to recruit some more for his league. As for Deku, upon getting back to school, he was stormed by the girls who bombarded him with questions. I was there too, you know. Tenya noted. But the girls weren't interested in his story. Midnight, who happened to pass by, gave out a sigh of relief as Izuku seems to be unharmed. Their next lesson would be a rescue training race, which Izuku later won because he used Tenya's quirk card. And then again, the girls would then run over to him to check on him, much to his nervousness as he undid his transformation. Chapter 14, Forest Training Camp, Part 1. Months passed, and the 1A students have finally finished the end-of-term exams. Midoriya didn't use his belt nor cards during that time, since that qualifies as cheating, just like what happened back at the sports fest. And now, here Izuku is at the Department of Support. He was just passing through until a pair of hands grabbed him in. You really do have a nice figure. I love your muscles, Izuku. The perpetrator, May said as she rubbed Izuku's chest from behind, her melons pressing against his back. Stop it already, Hatsum. I didn't come here to be inspected. I do have to tell you though, that belt buckle you have there and that card book they're suspiciously familiar. What do you mean? May then slammed a large blueprint on the workshop table, and pointed to a familiar device. Isn't that I want to ask you very carefully, Izu baby, where did you get this belt even though I never even finished making it yet? I can explain, alright. Izuku told May everything, and she grinned, intrigued by his story. So, some person in your costume gave it to you. Well, coincidentally this belt is created to only be used by you, as well. It was then when Izuku realized it. What if the figure who gave him the belt is him from a distant future, like what Toru, Jiru, and the invading villains back at the USJ incident told him about their nightmares? Izuku then looked over at some other blueprints. Most of them were odd belts, like the one he is using. The one that caught his attention is the device that resembles a flip phone. What is a flip phone doing in here? Oh, that's MK. My latest project. It's almost done. Mark triple, yes, or you may call it zero gravity, so this one is for Achiko. So perceptive. It is for her. I just need to finish tweaking some data here and it's done. And upon the press of a button, it's complete. The flip phone-like object which is on the other workbench then said, power on. That's nice, but where's the belt? And they searched the entire department for the DMN thing, until they finally found it being brought by Power Loader, who is intrigued by the belt's design. Afterwards, May put the belt and the device into a small metal suitcase. Inside there is also a strange digital camera-like device, a laser pointer, and some sort of hilt for a blade. And the finishing touches. May then placed a pile of papers into the case, which turns out to be the manual on how to use the devices. Makes sense, this thing is too complex to use. Oh, and Hatsum, yes. Did you come up with this idea? To make power-up belts? Nope. But some girl who had a striking similarities with you gave me the blueprints, and the materials. Izuku then remembered what Izumi said back at Hosu. There are other better quirks around that requires this one Ichan to snipe, that's what she said. Hatsum, did she use cards? Indeed, from those cards I can insert the quirks contained within to power up the devices I'm making. And after a quarter of hour, May explains to Izuku about the device and its use in combat and such. Izuku realized that it's already late. May then gave the case to him, telling him to bring it to Achiko the next time he met her. A couple of days later, somewhere Izuku is struggling against a muscular villain, a crazed one indeed. You are already defeated. I have won this, hero. Here Izuku is, at the forest training camp. He is separated with the others, and is now protecting a little boy who detests heroes at first. Is that so? You're mistaken. A hero can only be defeated if he draws his last breath, and I won't let you get even more closer to this boy. Izuku said, shielding a boy behind him. His name is Kuda. Who are you? Just a passing through hero, remember that. Henshin. Transform card, Deku. Upon transforming, Deku then pulled another card from the book. Let's see the other powers I received like this one. Attack card, I am here. Deku then swiped his hands, and shouted, I am here. Imitating All Might's pose. So then what? The muscular villain, also known as Muscular, asked. Deku quits his posing, and pulls out another card, this time it has Mina's figure on it. Attack card, dance off. Deku then went into a dance, first by spinning around, before he begins to break dance and ending with planting one hand to the ground, supporting his entire body. Can't touch this, but I didn't even do anything to you. What is the meaning of this? Just, what's wrong this time? Don't ask me. Deku shouted. He then pulled out two more cards instead of letting the book dispensing them automatically. Upon reading them, he cringed. Freshly picked grape juice, this one had Mineta's portrait. Die, and this one had Bakugo's portrait. Don't mess with me. And with a punch, Deku was sent flying away. His transformation dispelled, and returning him to his normal costume. Deku. You alright? Barely. Oh, how unlucky I am today. The battle commenced again, with Izuku not transforming for the rest of the fight until he resolved the situation by using Detroit Smash 100%. And with this punch, he decimated Muscular, rendering him unconscious to be arrested. However, this resulted in Izuku being injured. He then carried Kuta, and found Aizawa in the middle of the woods. He convinced the teacher to allow the others to defend themselves, for survivability. Aizawa agreed, and sent him away towards Mandalay. Izuku transformed again before heading off. Mandalay is in the middle of a fight, against a gecko-like villain who dubbed himself Spinner, who uses a rather large makeshift blade. You are not a true hero. Only for him to be yeeted away by Izuku, who kicked him with his final attack card. Mandalay, I've got a message for Aizawa. He has allowed permission to fight, cast the message to the entire students. Mandalay nodded, and shared the message. On Ochiko and Tsuyu's location, they are facing a psychotic blonde-haired girl wearing a sifuku. She had introduced herself as Himiko Toga, a newly recruited member for the League of Villains. She also befriended the two girls in her own twisted way. Upon getting the message, Ochiko then told Tsuyu to hold Toga off. Oh, and what are you about to do? Run away for your own safety. But she was interrupted by Tsuyu, who head-butted her torso. Hurry up, Ribbit. Flashback: during the trip to the forest camp, Izuku nervously called out Ochiko, and handed her a strange metal case. What is this, Deku-kun? Hatsum told me to give it to you. It comes with a manual so you can understand how this works. Luckily she had the time to read them until the last page, which is coincidentally the time where the villains invade. Flashback: and Ochiko dropped the case onto the ground, opened it revealing the belt and device. She puts the belt on her waist, and let it fasten itself around her. She then took the flip phone-like device, which intrigued Toga. Oh, about to call for help with a flip phone. How old? 3 beeps in a robotic voice, which resembled Hatsum's, that said, standing by, then happened. Ochiko then closed the phone, raised it up high before shouting. Henshin. Chapter 15, Forest Training Camp, Part 2, Henshin. Ochiko then placed the device on where the belt buckle should be. Complete. A red glowing line then makes an outline that resembles Uravity's costume, and the rest of the costume materializes, with a yellow visor, and a translucent mouthguard. The headgear also had a pair of antennas. What on earth is that? I'll explain later, Tsu. Ochiko then see Toga rushing towards her with her knife in hand. Quickly, Ochiko grabbed Toga's wrist that is holding the knife, and brought her down to the ground using the GMA that she had learned from her workplace training. Afterwards, Ochiko backflipped once, before pulling out the device from the belt, and pressed 1-0, Toga got up, and dashed at her again. Single mode. And in point blank, Ochiko bent the top side of the flip phone 90 degrees towards Toga, and the mini antenna on it shoots off a beam of light that repelled her. Alright, now let's see what this does. Ochiko then pressed 106, and the start button. Burst mode, and the mini antenna shoots off 3 beams, which were all concentrated. Toga managed to slash them off, and screamed in pain as she stood back up. In response, Ochiko took out the digital camera-like device on the left side of the belt, and bent the handle underneath it, forming a knuckle duster. She took off the casing of the flip phone, and attached it over to the knuckle duster. Ready, then Ochiko opened the flip phone without putting it off the belt, and pressed the start button. Exceed charge, the knuckle duster then made some long beeping sounds, as Ochiko prepared to run towards Toga with it. So you just see her running past her, and towards Toga, who tried to strike again. This time, Ochiko ducked down, and struck the knuckle duster onto Toga's stomach, knocking the gravity out of her. Phi, a symbol of that shape, which is diagonal shaped instead of the original, then came out from Toga's back, before she is sent flying back. You got me, but at least I got your BLD before. Toga shouted, as she limped over to a portal that Kurogiri conjured just in time. Ochiko, that was just amazing. I thought so as well. I should thank Hatsum later on. Tsu, you head on back to the others, I have someone to save. Ochiko ordered as her antenna detected someone in distress, and it is Deku. Meanwhile, Tokoyami is in his dark shadow form fighting a villain, as well as Bakugo who is fighting another. But what they didn't realize is that they are getting trapped by Mr. Compress, some villain who acts like a magician. As for Deku, Toga had caught him transforming and upon seeing him injured but yet still wanted to transform astounded her. The card book then opens, and a card flew out. It has Toga's portrait. Why is a quirk control card showing a villain as its power source? Call me Toga, Izuku-an. She shouted as she pounced the off-guard Deku to the ground, pinning him. Toga then attempted to stab him, but stopped upon the final inch. This is Toga. We're retreating, shouted a random villain from nearby. Toga made a confused face, before standing up and walking off to the portal. The villains tried to retreat using the warp gate made by Kurogiri, and Mr. Compress caught the ball that imprisoned the two boys, but was interrupted by Aoyama Yuga's naval laser. What? Don't forget about this as well. A voice shouted from the side, as Mr. Compress spitted out the trapped duo. Exceed charge, a laser beam shoots out from the pointer-like device, which is hooked to the armor of Ochiko's left leg. It then spreads open, forming a red laser drill which hits the magician villain. Upon touch, the drill stuck itself onto his body, with him screaming as Ochiko then launched a flying kick which went through the drill, and went back out through the back of the portal. The magician's body then turned into sand slowly, as he sees the compressed duo being returned into normal. Tokoyami is free, but a hand caught the one where Bakugo is trapped in. What? I am sorry, it was Dabi, the one with the scorched lips and bloodshot eyes whose quirk is to make blue flames. Todoroki failed to rescue Bakugo, and Deku ran over to get him back, but it's too late. The portal closes, just as Mr. Compress' body then turned into sand entirely, leaving behind the red diagonal phi symbol. Deku screamed out, "Catchin'," as he then beat the ground below him.